Well, guys, I got the engine hoist out now, and that can only mean one thing. It's all got to come out. Just kidding. All that really means is this whole thing together is heavier than I want to deal with, so I used the engine hoist to pull that thing out. So the other day, I was having some issues with it. Came back out after I made the other video of me driving it around. Came back out the next day, tried to start it, and it just died. And that's kind of similar to what it was doing before. I didn't really think much of it. Before I was like, it add a little bit of fuel. I didn't really have the cold start tuning done yet. So I was adding a little bit of fuel and then it would start up. Once it was up to temp, it would be okay. So I was still trying to tweak that in. But this time I couldn't do anything different to get it to run. And I spent like 3 days trying to do that. And my starter actually went bad because I was like trying it so much and making changes and doing different things. And finally got to a point where I was thinking that it wasn't really tuning related. So started to look at other things, and the next clips that I'm going to show are just kind of the process that I went through and some of the other things. It's more explanation than anything. So I just want to clear that up with you guys and show you what I found. All right, guys, I got some good news and I got some bad news. The good news is my furnace went out this morning. But that only took me like probably a half hour to fix that. The bad news, I'm still having problems with this thing. Did go out, drive it around, everything was good, and then it happened again. Next day I came out, tried to start it, and wouldn't start. But this time I wasn't able to add fuel or make any changes to be able to get it running. It's been like that for about 2 days now. So during the troubleshooting process, started looking through a few different things, changing a lot of stuff, looking through different tunes and comparing what I had to other people's, and a lot of the stuff was very close and not anything significant that I feel would prevent it from running. So I'm starting to look into other mechanical issues and starting to see what else could possibly be wrong. So here's where I'm at. I have the valve cover off. I did take the turbo and the downpipe and manifold and everything off. So this is all opened up now. Now, the reason I started looking around in there is because it was very rich. When I was trying to start it and I checked the plugs are always very rich. And I was thinking maybe I was dumping too much fuel in, washing down the cylinders, something weird is going on. So check the dipstick, and the dipstick had like some white milky stuff on it. Like, that's pretty kind of weird. So drained the oil looked a little bit milky, not too bad. And I'm noticing that my coolant level was a little bit low. So I'm starting to think maybe there's a head gasket leaking issue or something like that, and maybe I'm getting water in the cylinders that's causing this unable to start issue. I'm also getting a lot of, I thought was condensation in the exhaust, and I'm thinking it's water now because there's quite a bit of it. Too much to be condensation. So that's where I'm at. Not really sure what's going on yet. Looking into other stuff. I looked at like 4 or 5 different tune files, and a lot of the stuff I have is very, very close. So I'm starting to think it's not tune related and there's something else going on. So that's what I'm looking at now. Here's a good example of what I got out of the exhaust. So when I pulled this thing out, this is kind of what came out of the header. So I feel like that's a little bit too much to be condensation because it was like dripping out of this one. And that's why I'm starting to feel like I'm actually getting water in the cylinders that's pushing it into the exhaust. Okay, so here's a shot of the oil. And the oil actually doesn't really look that bad. I don't see any water. I don't see any water separations or anything like that. It doesn't really look too bad. So maybe there was like a little bit that got in there, but not a whole lot, and I caught it early enough. When I did pull the valve cover off of the passenger side, I did see water separation inside by the springs. So I know that there was some water that got into it. Hopefully I caught it early enough that it didn't damage anything. I mean, I didn't really drive the thing, so probably not. My starter is also bad now. One of the only new items that I bought for this entire thing is dead. It's junk. So I went to the junkyard and I bought a good one. Hopefully it works. But yeah, that's kind of ironic. One of the only things that I bought that was new and should have been decent quality because it's new, right? Took a shit. Gonna throw the other one on, then I'm gonna do a compression test and a leak down test. So I also went through on this passenger side and just went down and retorqued all the bolts just to make sure they were actually pretty good, but I retorqued them to like 90 foot-pounds. That might be enough. So I did a compression test right before the last time I drove it, and they were at 180 across the board. Every cylinder was like within a couple pounds of 180. So very, very close, very consistent. So I'm going to go through and do another check and see if anything changed. If If I can't find anything, I'm just gonna throw it back together and start over. One other thing I did find, or I think I might have found, is the idle air control valve might actually be going bad or bad. When I read it on the scanner, it was at like reading 285, which should be open, I believe, and it was all the way extended all the way out. So I'm gonna recheck that thing after I get it started, or try to start it, check it on the scanner, see where it's at. I decided to check out the crank sensor plug. This was actually connected at the time, but it was just holding on by like one strand inside there. And the rest of the wiring is cracked in like 5 different spots. So it's cracked here, right at the plug, completely broken here, cracked. So hopefully this was my issue. Alright guys, so I'm on my way right now to the junkyard. I'm going to bring my old starter back because there's a $5 core charge. I might not actually bring it back though. I have it with me, but I'm still debating if I want to just keep it and use it for a different project. That might be fun because I can take the planetary gear and stuff out of there and use it for something else. I might just keep it. It's only $5. So I'm going to grab a new idle air control valve, or a different idle air control valve, and a crank sensor plug. So when I lifted the harness up to take that other video last night, the harness completely snapped off. So hopefully that was my issue that I've been having with it starting and then dying right away. And that would make sense because it was only hanging on by one little piece, and it was that sensitive that I picked it up and it broke. So hopefully that's the problem. I'm gonna cut one off at the junkyard, go wire it all back up, and hopefully that is my issue. Okay, I got some news. Now, and fixed a couple things, changed a couple things, figured a couple things out. So check this out now. Take the map sensor out, plug this one back in. So the one I pulled out was the factory 1-bar map sensor, and the one I just put in was the new one that I bought, the 2-bar. So that's what it would do. Something's wrong with that thing. It definitely just isn't happy. Switch the map sensor out, and yeah, it just works. So I'm gonna get a different map sensor and call it a day. So this is my old idle air control valve, and I took this thing out and it just kind of fell apart. So I think this could have been a little bit of a contributor. If not, it was going to be a problem. And also the crank sensor wiring, that was definitely going to be a problem because I picked it up and the wire broke. So that was going to be an issue down the road. So I don't think my time is a total loss troubleshooting, because I found a couple things that I didn't like, I wasn't happy with, and I was able to fix. That stuff's fixed now. I'm going to get a new map sensor, throw it in, get this thing ready to go, and then we'll be good. So I'm pretty new to the tuning thing and HP tuners and the software and everything. So if you're watching and you think that I am like good at tuning or really know what I'm doing, I don't want you to get the wrong impression. And I'm just starting to do this and try to learn it on my own. So just wanted to put that out there. Don't get the wrong impression. If you see me doing something, don't get the impression that I'm like a good tuner or I really know what I'm doing. I just want to learn it, and I'm using this as an experience. So because of that, and I was having starting issues and just put the turbo in around the same time, I'm thinking in my head it's guaranteed got to be tuning related, and it's something in the software that I just don't know and I'm not understanding it, something that I'm missing. I spent a lot of time tweaking the tune thinking that it was that, and followed out the plugs and went through a couple different sets of plugs. Got to a point basically where nothing that I was doing was changing anything. The symptoms weren't changing. I was changing different things in the tune, even making drastic changes just to try to see if it would do anything different, and it would not do anything different no matter what I did. So I even went as far as went on the Sloppy Mechanics tune cabinet page and looked at some of the files there. I talked to Hunter from Hunter Tune. His YouTube channel is Hunter Tune. He's been tuning cars for a very long time and he knows what he's doing. Looked at some of his tune files from his truck, which is a kind of a similar build, and I didn't really find anything in the tunes that were like catastrophic or too far off that were going to prevent it from at least starting up. And I also talked to Bad Luck Garage. He sent me his tune file just to review it. He also has a turbo 6-liter, and his has been doing pretty decent lately. So I looked over his tune file and compared a lot of stuff. His starts, runs, drives, everything's good, and I'm like kind of getting confused at this point. So after looking through several different tune files and comparing to what I had, they weren't very far off. So I was kind of starting to lean more towards it's not tuning related and something else going on. So I started to look into other things, starting it back up. So got everything, put the new idle air control valve on, put the new plug on, put new oil in it, checked all the compression, did everything, didn't really find anything catastrophically wrong. Went to go start it back up. My hopes were high and it died right away again. And something that I was thinking about doing, but I never did for several days. I was probably thinking about this like 3 or 4 days ago. I'm like, maybe I should throw the other map sensor on. And I have the stock factory 1-bar map sensor sitting on the workbench, and I was tied up with all the other stuff. So by the time I was actually thinking about it when I was out here, I just never really did it. And that was something that Hunter suggested too, when I was talking to him about it. Just throw the old map sensor on. So we talked about it, and I was thinking about it for days and just never tried it because I was working on the other stuff. And sure enough, I grabbed the factory 1-bar map sensor, plugged that thing in, turned the key, and it fired right up and idled. So, not exactly sure what happened. Maybe when I was driving around those first couple times, the eBay map sensor that I got decided to shit the bed. I don't know. But definitely doesn't start with the other map sensor. I put the factory 1-bar back in there, and it starts. So I ordered a different map sensor, an On3 Performance map sensor. Good price. It was actually cheaper for that one than the one that I bought. I'm going to go with that thing, wait a couple days, that thing's going to come in. But yeah, it did not want to start with that other map sensor in there. Kind of chased my tail for a while on that one, wanted to share it with you guys. I spent a lot of time just looking at the tune because I was thinking in my head it's probably something that I'm just missing or not understanding with the tune. It's tune related. So I spent a lot of time trying to tweak that and just get it right, and nothing was changing anything. So then I started to look at other stuff. So that's where I'm at. So I'm glad I put the new idle air control valve on. That should be great. I look at it on the scanner. It's working. Seems like it's working properly. Definitely a good thing that I rechecked the crank sensor wiring. It was inside the factory heat-taped loom that comes on it. It was all cracked inside there. Very old, brittle. I mean, it kind of makes sense. It was a 220,000 mile engine. So yeah, if that wasn't the problem, I definitely would have had problems with it very shortly down the road. So I'm glad I caught that. That's about it, guys. Just wanted to give you the update. Sorry for all the rambling. As always, thanks for watching. Love the support. Hopefully I can get you guys some wide open videos of this thing pretty soon. We got a lot of snow out, so maybe we'll just do some snow drifting, because I don't really know if I'm going to be able to find a dry road for the next few months in Wisconsin. So maybe we'll do some other fun stuff and build a drift car. Leave a comment if you guys want me to build a drift car.